December 7, 1941, a day that would forever change the course of history. The attack on Pearl Harbor wasn't just a sudden strike. It was the result of years of tension and calculated strategy. But how did it all come to this moment? To understand why Japan launched this devastating attack, we need to look back at the events leading up to it. In the 1930s, Japan had set its sights on expansion across East Asia and the Pacific, seeking resources and dominance. They invaded Manchuria in 1931, then launched a full-scale invasion of China in 1937. This aggressive expansion alarmed Western nations, particularly the United States. The U.S. responded by imposing economic sanctions on Japan, including freezing Japanese assets and placing an embargo on oil, a resource Japan relied on heavily. Japan's military leaders saw these sanctions as a direct threat to their ambitions. They believed that if they didn't act, their nation's goals in Asia would be jeopardized. In early 1941, Japanese military leaders began formulating a risky plan to eliminate American influence in the Pacific. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the commander-in-chief of the Japanese fleet, argued that a surprise attack on the U.S. Pacific Fleet stationed at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii would give Japan a critical advantage. The idea was simple yet audacious. If Japan could cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet, they could dominate the Pacific without interference, at least long enough to establish a solid foothold. In secrecy, Japan mobilized one of the largest fleets ever assembled, with 6 aircraft carriers, 353 planes, and multiple battleships. The task force sailed across the vast Pacific Ocean undetected. Their mission was clear: overwhelm the defenses and deliver a blow the U.S. could not easily recover from. At 7:48 a.m., the first wave of Japanese planes reached Pearl Harbor. The attack came in 2 waves, aimed at battleships, airfields, and critical infrastructure. Explosions, gunfire, and the roar of engines filled the air as bombs and torpedoes rained down on the anchored fleet. Within 2 hours, Japan had dealt a devastating blow. 8 battleships were damaged or sunk, hundreds of planes were destroyed on the ground, and over 240 American lives were lost. The next day, President Franklin Roosevelt addressed the nation, calling December 7th a date which will live in infamy. The United States declared war on Japan, marking its official entry into World War II. What Japan had hoped would be a crippling blow instead awakened a powerful adversary. The attack on Pearl Harbor galvanized American resolve, setting the stage for a brutal war in the Pacific. The attack on Pearl Harbor remains one of the most significant events of the 20th century, forever etched in the memory of a nation.